Welcome to M Squared TechCast.
Hey, it's Matt Roush.
And Mike Brennan.
And you're listening to yet another segment of the M Squared TechCast.
And as many of you know, or if you don't, I'll tell you anyway, we got involved in...
Whether you want to or not.
Whether you like it or not, we're going to tell you about it.
Yep.
We got involved in covering the marijuana, hemp, cannabis, CBD, all that stuff business back in April. I thought it was exploding industry in this state. Not so much last year. Last year was the get everything together year, but I think this year is going to be stupendous. And one of the real pioneers, one of the movers and shakers in this industry, I met Mike last year at Mike Elias at the Benziga Cannabis Conference, interviewed him there. And since then, I don't know if you mentioned to me back then, but you're going to be putting up or in developing right now a 200,000 square foot greenhouse where you're going to be growing cannabis.
So do you have seed in the ground, or is that what's going to happen?
Seed in the ground is February 8th.
February 8th. Okay, gotcha.
All right, I didn't realize it was that far along. And I wouldn't say controversial, but a lot of people are not going that. In fact, I don't know of anyone doing a big greenhouse. Most everybody has an indoor facility, but it's LED lights and all that jazz. So
we, the design of the facility really makes a lot of sense for the climate of Michigan. So we have the ability to use the sun because nothing grows better than the sun. Mm-hmm. There is no artificial light on the planet that can mimic the power of the sun. And so we want to use that when the sun's at its peak.
As much as you can.
Exactly.
Right,
So
yeah.
imagine an indoor facility with all glass. But when the sun's not at its peak, we have a sensor system that allows us to supplement with artificial light. The plants are layered with sensors from the root zone all the way up to the canopy, and it's smart enough to be able to determine the light requirements in real time and be able to adjust the lights along with the sun to get the right photons, the right UMOs at the canopy level.
Okay.
And this thing can scale up to 1.2 million square feet?
Just like a data center. One of our founders ran a $4 billion portfolio building data centers all over the world for Microsoft. The technology we're using is not unique. What we're doing is just scaling on demand and only building to what we need. Mm-hmm. And so it's a bunch of little greenhouses, if you will. It looks like a huge greenhouse, but there's a bunch of little ones inside it that are self-contained. So you have your mechanical and cooling systems dedicated to 14,000 square foot rooms, and we can put on a 14,000 square foot room every 30 days with its own standalone mechanical and cooling systems. That way we can build on demand. We don't leave any money on the table. We know that the Michigan market is a huge market, but to just grow and to design a facility and not utilize it at its full scale is a real waste of money and just doesn't make any sense from a customer standpoint.
Yeah,
So
it's like the killer for all businesses is they build too much in the beginning. They have tremendous overhead. There isn't revenue to support it. Everything collapses, right?
So we're using, again, this is trial and many years of data center trial and error. Essentially, we're bringing the space. Like plants have the same problems that servers do, and that's heat.
Right.
And the industry, the data center industry, has spent a lot of time driving high efficiency technology at a very low cost because every time they learn something, that technology gets cheaper and cheaper over time, but the efficiency goes up. Mm-hmm. And so we're essentially stealing that technology and dropping it into an environment that's highly applicable. It's a controlled environment, so it's the best of the indoor grow. It has the same environmental controls as an indoor, but at fractions of the cost because we can use the sun to offset our energy footprint and really drive sort of a green approach, no pun intended, to our energy needs and scale as need be.
So I'm curious, what are you using for soils? Are you using natural soil or some hydroponic stuff?
Yeah, it's trial and error, and I would default to my greenhouse guys and growers to get more specific there. But today we're using, we're trialing several different mediums. Soil is not one of them. I can tell you that. So there are so many different pros and cons to each one of these strategies. One allows for more a sterile medium that could prevent pests and microbes from infiltrating the root bulb. But it may take a little longer to grow. So we have a whole R&D culture that we're bringing into the space to really fine tune what works and what doesn't. And today we're testing a few.
So can I ask the Matt question here?
Yeah, go ahead.
You're going to be creating a lot of jobs here, I'm assuming, right?
Well, by the time we get to a stable state environment, our expectation is 3 to 4 years out. Marshall alone, omit our retail footprint, which is quite large. It's 400 jobs right there, just in Marshall alone.
And you go to Win Schuler's and get the cheese and stuff.
That's right.
Too, right?
That's right. Schuler's. That's one of the main reasons we went to Marshall.
Yeah,
So where can people go to see what kind of jobs are open right now?
You can go to our website. We have significant number of postings. We're scaling into that. We had a huge job fair. 800 people showed up in one day.
Wow.
Is it Michigan Pure Med?
Michigan Pure Med is the holding company.
Okay.
Common Citizen is the retail-facing brand. We have master brand architecture there, and we'll scale up to 10 chapters. We call them chapters, not dispensaries,
Right.
across the state of Michigan. And today we're open in Flint, Battle Creek, and Detroit.
Okay, you got to come to Ann Arbor where I am, right?
Yeah, we're working on it. That retail footprint is not easy.
Expensive.
It's expensive. Not more than the manufacturing facility.
Oh no!
Our focus today is really driving and controlling our fate by getting into the manufacturing space, supplying not only our channels but the entire state of Michigan. At 1.2 million square feet, eventually, we'll have the ability to supply pretty much the Midwest.
Yeah.
And so B2B is a big part of our business model. And we'll white label, and you can bank on a very high quality product at a very low cost. Our economies of scale, the reason why we pick 1.2, as an industrial engineer, the strategy here is a 70-year-old principle. And that is trying to get to the economies of scale to really bring the costs down and at the same time bring prices down,
Right.
So that the typical person, common citizen, could afford it and still get a high quality product. So we want to be able to pass those savings on to our wholesalers and really deliver a high quality product at the lowest cost, lowest price. And we can do that because we can scale to 1.2 and really drive that down that cost structure.
Well, plus cannabis grows real quickly, so you can get at least 2 crops a year, right?
Well, we're going to get to a perpetual harvest at some point when we get to a stable state environment. Well, we'll have weekly harvests.
Weekly harvest.
Weekly harvest.
Is each of those separate rooms going to have a particular variety of plant, or is that how it's going to work? Okay.
Right, exactly. Right. So chemovars, I know people call them strains. The right terminology is chemovars, and obviously certain chemovars have similar conditions for growth, and we would compartmentalize and group those in the right space. And so that's really important. The building offers so many other weapons that most indoors and greenhouses don't. For example, we don't waste our water. We recycle it and bring it back to its state. We have sensors that layer throughout the canopy so we can gather data in real time and make corrections. The IPM strategy, integrated pest management strategy, starts at the door. People come in showered, even if they took a break and went out for a smoke, they'd have to come back in and shower again and scrub up again. And so it's pretty rigorous in terms of what we're demanding, in terms of who touches this plant. Everything is natural. We use biological strategies to make sure that the plant's growing at optimal strength. We don't use any synthetics to grow our plants. And essentially, the system alone is a standalone system. We can isolate bugs. We can prevent spread just like an OR or just like a hospital room.
Yeah, that's
really
what I was going to say.
things.
With each unit being 14,000 square foot, if you get a contamination in one, it doesn't affect everything.
Exactly. We can shut it down completely. And there's our facility will be the first facility in the state of Michigan to be GMP certified. GMP is good manufacturing practices. It's what the FDA uses to regulate food and drug. one of the things that I've been pushing the state, and I've come out with an op-ed not too long ago, asking for higher standards, quality and safety standards. Every time I bring this up at the state level, people look at me like I got horns. Why would you want more regulations? Well, the vaping crisis is a good example of why we need it. There's a lot of eyeballs on this industry, and there's not a lot of room for error.
Not all of them kindly disposed.
Because you have a political
either.
issue as well. There's a lot of conservative folks that are just don't think this is a good idea at all. Don't give them an excuse, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so we got to really raise the bar. Even though the FDA is not asking us to abide by those standards, I think the state of Michigan has the ability, and Governor Whitmer has the ability to be a leader in this space. And I've been talking to Senator Vanderwall, I'm completely encouraged by the dialogue. In fact, the discussions on GMP are resonating at the highest level, and we're starting to see that verbiage filter into the regulations in the next iteration here. So we're very excited about that.
Let me ask one question or just make one comment here. In a previous life, I covered retailing for Crane's Detroit Business, and I see that you won an award from the International Council of Shopping Centers.
Yeah.
Not exactly what you would consider for a marijuana shop.
Not something we intended
to
do.
A cart, you go through your place, load up.
Right. It's like most consumer-friendly pot shop, I guess.
Apparently, I've heard it is one of the most coveted Retail Design
Gold
Awards.
Award. Yeah, that's one of the biggies.
Yeah.
I used to cover that industry.
Yeah, it's an international type thing. We didn't design our store to win awards. We designed it so that it resonated with the 88% of people that don't consume cannabis.
Right.
And to give them a completely different experience than what they're used to. And we just so happened to win it. But it really was inspired by the typical patient, customer walking in, and we looked at it from their eyes in terms of what they would want to see, and we landed on some great elements that all kind of worked out, and we're happy about the award, but we'll just put that on the shelf right now.
It makes me want to go to the store in Flint just to check it out.
I liken our master brand architecture to if the Apple store and a cannabis store had a baby, that's kind of what our Flint store is about.
All right. Well, I look forward to getting there. You're going to have a news conference out there in February, or what are you going to do?
Well, today my focus is really just to get it operational.
Right.
I haven't thought about there's a press release coming out, and I know there's some interest by the state to see what GMP looks like.
Right.
So there's dialogue being had at the state level to see if we can bring some of these folks out and get a view of what the future is going to look like here.
Sure.
But yeah, it's in the works.
All right.
Sounds good.
Mike, thanks for being with us here today. Mike Elias, what's the website?
CommonCitizen.com.
Okay.
Lots of jobs, you said?
Yeah, there's a ton. Yeah, we're looking to hire people from Michigan, Detroit, trying to make a real impact here. This is our home. This is where we grew up. This is where I grew up. So very, very happy about bringing those jobs back to Michigan.
Sounds good.